Hi guys, Ramsey here. Today we have a very special video, and today it's going to be a This Is Not a Top 10. And in this episode of This Is Not a Top 10, this is going to be my favorite boozy fragrances from my collection. And I'm kind of buzzing right now because I just went out and checked the mail and I got something from a very special duck in England. And what we have is we have a bunch of samples, and we sent these to each other about a month ago. Mine arrived a couple weeks back, 3 weeks back or so, and his took over a month to get here. But here's 10 fragrances from the famous duck, which I have not smelled. We have stuff like Patchouli Imperial, we have Cartier Cuirs, we have Full Choke, we have Eau Noir, we have Filet en Aiguille, which I have a bottle of this coming, by the way, of the vintage stuff. Filet en Aiguille, and Fumerie Turk, and Antaeus Sport, and Pure Leather, and the list goes on. So, absolutely buzzing they arrived. We thought they got lost in the mail. Apparently the Royal Mail is better at sending stuff our way. They're better at receiving stuff than sending stuff out of the country. So there you go. Very happy to have this in the collection. And so because of that, I'm going to do a very special video for you guys. My favorite boozy fragrances. And this is going to be a classic Ramsey video because this is going to be a long video because I have a lot of boozy fragrances. This is not everything, obviously, but I can only pull out so much. So I hope you appreciate the time and effort it takes to pull all this stuff out. First, I want to start with my scent of the day, which is a boozy scent. It's CH Men Privé. Now, this is a designer. It wears like a designer. I also have the aftershave. As you can see, I shaved today. Baby face going. And, you know, for a designer, I like this. If you like the original CH Man, that sugary leather type feel, this is better because this has a note of whiskey in it, which, you know, amps it up a little bit. There's still that lavender and there's that cardamom note, which, you know, tends to get a lot of love in designer fragrances. Fragrances like La Nuit de l'Homme really set that off, but the bottle looks like a flask, as you can see. So as far as boozy fragrances go, CH Men Privé is a good designer to get your nose on. Probably one of the better boozy designers. Okay, next we are going to go to some decants. And so we're going to start with a fragrance I've never shown on my channel before. This is from the house of John Varvatos. And this is a fragrance called Dark Rebel. And Dark Rebel is probably one of Rodrigo Flores Rue's better fragrances from the house, 2015. I think I like Dark Rebel Rider, the leather one, a little bit better. It takes this DNA and improves upon it, but this also has rum and sugar with cardamom, leather, fir, castoreum, tobacco leaf. These used to be very cheap. I hear that they're starting to kind of go up in price a bit. But John Varvatos Dark Rebel, if you can get your nose on this, this is a 10 or 15 ml decant that I scored. And, you know, it is, you know, when you have a big collection, you don't always need full 100 ml bottles. You've heard me say that before. Something like this I can wear occasionally and you know, get to know and love. There's absolutely nothing wrong with. So that is Dark Rebel. I'm going to go through these fast because this video will be 8 hours if I don't. Next is a Tom Ford, and it's Tobacco Oud. And the reason it's on the list has nothing to do with tobacco or oud. It has to do with the beautiful whiskey note that comes in it. Again, as you will notice, this is a 10 ml decant. And I wish I had more because I actually really love this fragrance. But as you can see, I'm taking very good care of it. It's just so unique. You know, this and another one coming up pretty soon remind me of one another. And Tobacco Oud is the Tom Ford that I chose to be on our boozy list. So if you've never smelled this, check it out. It does have this You know, you get a little bit of designer oud, that Tom Ford oud, if you will, and a beautiful tobacco note. So good. This and Tobacco Vanille are two Tom Fords I really wish I had full bottles of, but maybe if I run through an entire decan, I'll get one day. And then we're going to go to the House of Lubin, which this is the boozy fragrance that is usually kind of considered to be an afterthought by some people. The next one coming up is the one people usually think of, but this is from the House of Lubin, and it's called Corrigan. And Corrigan is a fragrance that came out in 2012. Thomas Fontaine was the perfumer. This is a very strange fragrance, but I really like it because it's unique. It has two alcoholic notes in it. It has the note of cognac, saffron, juniper in the top, whiskey, ambrette, and lavender in the mid, and then this leather, musk, oud, cedar, and vetiver. This is when everyone had to release an oud fragrance. But this is very, very unique. I didn't want to go for a full bottle, so I got a decant from Mudasir on base notes. I'm very glad that I did. You know, some people compare this to fragrances like Furio. I mean, the comparisons are all over the map. I don't see comparisons to any of those fragrances. There's a fragrance from Atkinson's called Pirates Grand Reserve. I've never smelled that fragrance. That's the #1 comparison in Fragrantica. But I don't think I've smelled anything that can compare to this. So if you want something unique, check out Corrigan. And then we're going to go on to the house of, well, same house, but different fragrance. Sticking with the House of Lubin. This is Idole de Lubin. And as you can see, this fragrance right here is the EDT. So this is not the EDP, which gets more love. This is discontinued now, by the way. And so this fragrance has the note of rum in it. And it also has a sugarcane and palm tree and ebony wood feel. So it's very unique. This is actually one of my favorite boozy fragrances that I've come across. I'm so sad the EDT is discontinued, but I love it so much that I actually have a backup bottle, as you can see. So I have the tester that I bought from Mudasir. I'm sorry, Enchante, Anoush. And then I have a full sealed backup. These are getting so hard to find, these EDTs. These are 75 ml bottles, by the way. And, you know, they've got their stuff on the back or whatever it may be. I've never really cared much about the packaging, but the packaging here with the cap is absolutely outstanding. The new ones don't have this design. I guess I should have turned the light on. It might be hard for you guys to see, but we'll keep rolling with it. So it doesn't have the mask design like the EDT bottle. And the back kind of looks like a shield. Very awesome packaging. I love this packaging and I love this fragrance. I even feel like you might be able to wear this in moderate weather, not the heat of summer. This is so good. One of the best rum fragrances I have in my collection. I wish it was a little toned down on the sweetness, but I can stand it because it's such a good fragrance. Okay, next we are going to go to the house of Roja Dove, everyone's favorite. You know what's coming. Probably one of the best cognac fragrances on the market. I don't think anyone would really argue that fact. This is Creation E, and this is the Parfum version. And obviously overpriced. $500 for 50 ml is larceny, but here we go. I have a bottle. I didn't pay that, luckily, but God, it's so good with that boozy opening. It's got that, you know, I said wild cherry Pepsi in my first impressions, early impressions video, and I stand by that. It's wild cherry Pepsi in the beginning. I love this fragrance. You know, it's again, it's a little sweet because it has that vanilla and benzoin, but I love how unique that soda pop opening is. And then you get into the cognac, and he claims that they use an actual essential oil from the bottom of the cognac barrels that can be actually turned into an essential oil. I don't know if that's true or not, but if he says it, I guess it is, so I'll take his word for it. But I do love this fragrance. When you want to wear something posh, you know, if you ever think about some of the lounges that you see around him as he's sitting in you know, $1,000, $2,000 a night hotel. Just imagine some of the, you know, couches and the statues and the paintings on the wall and the oak benches. And I mean, that's the vibe that this fragrance gives me. Great release from the House of Roja Dove. Even though, like I said in my first impressions video of La Oscar yesterday, some people love to hate that house because of the price. Some people hate to love it because of, you know, the fact that Roja's claiming to be the perfumer. Whether he is or not is up for debate. You know, there was a book, The Ghost Perfumer, that came out in 2021 that claims that there were people within Guerlain who said he was a makeup specialist, not a perfumer. So now that he has his own brand, you know, claiming to be a perfumer, maybe he should give the perfumers credit like Frederick Malle. I don't know, but, you know, there's some controversy there. And then the second one I only have a decant of, and I'm glad I only have a decant of this because this is not my favorite rum fragrance, but I had to include it in the list. This is Parfum de la Nuit number 2. So this is the second one, and this is kind of like this sweet, it's such a strange fragrance. The top is this, so think about this citrus sweet top. The sweetness comes from the orange, okay? So you have bergamot and lemon mixing with the orange that instantly mixes with this rum and coconut accord, okay? So you get rum and coconut, and then you get this very strange base with resins. There's tolu balsam, there's benzoin, there's tonka bean, okay? So you can think of the resins, right? And then you get this guaiac wood, labdanum, and then civet and castoreum mixed with a note of papyrus. So you get this papery papyrus and patchouli and vetiver. Weird combination. The brand says that this is soft, warm, and tantalizing. This fragrance revels in the power of suggestion, the warmth of a touch, the excitement of a quick glance. Number 2 is the master of seduction. I don't know about all that. I prefer number 3 personally. This had to be on the list. This is their rum fragrance, and it's $1,400 a bottle. So if you have $1,400 burning a hole in your pocket and you want an expensive rum fragrance, there you go. I'd probably recommend trying to hunt down a vintage bottle of this, actually. I enjoy this more. Go figure. Okay, next we're going to go into a alcohol category that does not get very much love in the masculine fragrance game. There's a lot of feminine fragrances that have this note, but not very many masculine fragrances, and that is the note of champagne. This is Oscar de la Renta Gentleman in the very classy Domino bottle. You know, this is an homage to Mr. de la Renta, who, when he passed away in 2015, 2016, they made this fragrance for him, and Dominoes were his favorite game. So some people say it's a tacky bottle. I think it's a cool homage. And I got this 100 ml bottle for like $22. I got an absolute steal on this. And I actually really like this fragrance. I said on a stream recently that the opening of this with the cardamom, even though it's a fresher opening, for some reason reminds me of Amouage's new Boundless, minus the tobacco. There's no tobacco in this. There's leatherwood, which can sometimes give off a tobacco-ish vibe, but there's no tobacco in this. But there's this champagne note in this, which I looked at some of the other fragrances on Parfumo.net that have the champagne note, and I would say probably 9 to 10. 9 out of 10 are feminine fragrances. That celebratory champagne pop, I think, is targeted more towards the female audience, if you will. But this fragrance gets almost no talk, and I think that it should. This, along with Oscar de la Renta's Pour Louis. I prefer Pour Louis, obviously. That's a classic, especially in the vintage Sanofi distributor bottle. But if you want something that's interesting and different, this has cardamom in it, grapefruit, bergamot, and it has a tea note. If I ever put together a tea fragrance list, this would make the list. It has this oolong tea and rosemary and vetiver, leatherwood, labdanum, amber. Very unique fragrance. And you can get this for not a lot of money still. So, Oscar de la Renta Gentleman is definitely one to put on the list. This video is going to be like 18 hours at this rate. Next is a fragrance from Mathilde Laurent from Cartier. And this is Pasha de Cartier Parfum. Now, as you can see, or maybe you can't see, maybe I should have turned on the light. Oh well, you guys will suffer the light coming through the back. So Pasha de Cartier Parfum, you can actually see it says Parfum right there. Is an update on Pasha de Cartier, which I actually showed on my Fougere list that I did a few days back. And so they took that Fougere, if you want to see that. If I knew how to put links, I would be like a regular YouTuber and go, check out my link right here, but I don't know how to do that. So you guys just go through my videos and find it if you're interested. But they took that Fougere DNA and from, 30 years ago, and they updated it. And what she did here is she actually put out one of the best modern designer fragrances I've smelled in a long time. It doesn't say the liquor that's used. Fragrantica just says sandalwood, liquor, balsam fir, benzoin, tonka bean, ambrosinide, Indonesian patchouli leaf, and labdanum. I think it's cognac, but I could be wrong. I don't know what kind of liquor they use. Maybe it's cognac and whiskey. But great fragrance. This is something, if you want to wear something modern, but also a little bit posh, Cartier to me is a quality house. Check this out, and I got a tester, so that's why you don't see a cap. But again, so when you're collecting a lot of fragrances, sometimes you just have to get what you can get. So I got a tester, and very happy with that purchase. And then onto the house of Kilian's, another house like Roja that people love to hate. Oh man, there's fingerprints all over this. Where's my microfiber rag when I need one? Okay, whatever. This is Straight to Heaven Extreme by Cartier, by Kilian's. And there you go. There's the bottle sitting in the silk bed with the lovely key that you can actually lock the box with. And so this fragrance here, I'm a little torn on because there's another fragrance that I smelled called Ligno. I can't think of it right now, but I'll show it to you one day when I do my Jovoy house overview. I think it's called Ligno, if I'm not mistaken. And it has a very similar rum, patchouli, dried fruits feel, but it's about 1/8 of the price of this. It's an extrait de parfum. This is an EDP, I believe. So you get 30 mLs instead of 50, but I like that fragrance just as much as I like this one. And so anyways, I don't hate the fragrance. I just hate that I paid $500 for this just because it has a lacquered box, and that's my fault. I probably should have just got one of the refills, but I learned my lesson. Beautiful presentation, but so what? I mean, no one sees it. It just sits in my collection. Next is going to be another fragrance from the House of Kilian's called Angel's Share. And if you want sweet fragrances, this is one to maybe put on your radar. Beautiful presentation, by the way, with the liquor decanter bottle, if you will. And so Angel Share is this sweet, warm, spicy, cinnamony fragrance that is very mass appealing, but it includes the note of cognac. It also uses the note of praline, which I hate. So is it a good fragrance? Yes, it's a little too sweet for my liking. I think this would smell amazing on a woman, personally. But it is completely unisex, but it's this is a hype beast nowadays in the community. and they only sell these 50 ml bottles. They're expensive. Would I buy this again? No, probably not. I got caught up in the hype, and here I am. I don't wear it too much because I prefer some of the other boozy fragrances that you will see, but Kilian's Angel's Share is at least worth a mention if you like cognac, but not my favorite. I'd rather wear Enigma or one of the other cognac fragrances coming up here in a little bit. Okay, next is going to be a cheapie, and this is on everyone's cheapie list, and it's created by one of the best cheapie perfumers of all time, Nathalie Lorson. This is Bentley for Men Intense. And Bentley for Men Intense is like on everyone's cheap list. If you want a boozy, cheap fragrance, this is it. It's got rum, bay leaf and black pepper in the top, woody notes, and then benzoin and cedar and leather and incense in the base. It is, you know, if you just want to wear something that smells amazing and you don't want to spend a lot of money, this is a great fragrance. I think I enjoy wearing some of the other ones a little bit more, but as far as, you know, a must-have, if I ever make a cheapie list, you know, these two, if this is still cheap, I don't know if it is. I think it's discontinued, but these two would definitely be on the cheapie list, especially if this is still cheap. Okay, next, we're going to go to a fragrance that has an alcohol note on Parfumo. Two of them, actually. Absinthe and rum. And that is Lolita Lempica Eau Masculine. So, Eau Masculine is... This came out 20 years ago, if you can believe that. Anique Minardo, the great Anique Minardo, created this. And it's absinthe, aniseed, ivy in the top, orgeat syrup, rum, violet in the heart, tonka, vanilla, cedar, cistus in the base. Awesome designer. This is what designer fragrances used to be. This is discontinued now, by the way. I think the original bottle had a built-in sprayer, and then they reformulated it in the one with a cap, but who cares? I mean, if you can get this for cheap, grab it. I like the intense EDP version even better, because it has this lovely iris note. One of my favorite iris notes in perfumery, actually. But this is a great fragrance. Some compare it to Body Koros. I think they're different enough where you could have both. And then we're going to go to a vodka fragrance, which there's only one other vodka fragrance I can think of other than this one that I'm going to show you. And that's Ungaro 3. Which I don't have. I'm not a big fan of that fragrance, to be honest with you. But this is a fragrance from a similar time frame from the House of Halston from 1994. If you know what's coming, you're a real fragrance head, because this is an under-the-radar fragrance. This is a fragrance called Catalyst. It looks like a test tube or a beaker bottle from your high school days. You can see the cap says Catalyst right there. And this fragrance, I think, was the last fragrance that the House of Halston put out before they got sold to EA. And this is a bottle that actually is Halston Fragrances, Inc. I don't know if you can see that, but it's right around the outside. It says Halston Fragrances, Inc. before EA bought them. And this is 100 ml. Oh, this fragrance is so complex. Rumor is that they spent so much money on this fragrance and the ingredients that, you know, Halston almost was forced to sell the brand, that this was a very expensive fragrance to make. The notes are outstanding. Orange, caraway, vodka, lavender, galbanum, mandarin orange, artemisia, bergamot, mint, basil, sage, jasmine, narcissus, rose oil, and tuberose. That's the top. The mid, bay, carnation, nutmeg, cinnamon, green grass, chamomile, blackcurrant, lily of the valley, violet, and rose. That's the mid. The base, sandalwood, leather, amber, incense, cedar, tonka, oak moss, vetiver, benzoin, musk, labdanum, coconut, patchouli. Tell me that doesn't sound like a Roja Dove note tree. This is a fragrance, even with all that, it's fresh. And I haven't given a chance to give this a full wear yet, but I've sprayed it on before bed before. And it's a lovely composition. I'm going to really enjoy wearing this in the spring. So the vodka's there, but it's part of a larger overall composition, if you will. Discontinued gem, obviously. This is a partial I got from Amouage Enchante Perfumes. Check his website out if you don't know him by now. And then, one of my favorite cognac fragrances, along with Enigma or Creation E, this is Escada Parfum. And I love this DNA. This, you know, jazz, heritage, I love those fragrances so much. This takes that heritage from Guerlain DNA and adds that boozy cognac note to it. I just feel so at home with these fragrances for some reason. I wish I had more than a 40 ml bottle. This is a little 40 ml. I wish I had 100 ml of this stuff. I love this stuff, but it's so expensive now. This is the EDT, by the way. They also make an EDP, or made an EDP, which is even more expensive. In Escada, they don't make masculine fragrances anymore. They used to. All of their masculine fragrances are completely discontinued. They only make women's fragrances now. And some of their old masculine fragrances go for big money. This is potentially my favorite of the bunch, Escada Parfum. And then we're going to go to a niche house, and it's by the House of Strangers Perfumery. And this fragrance right here is called Cigar Rum. And Cigar Rum does what the name says, cigar and rum. And Cigar Rum also adds a little bit of a twist because there's this insane freshness that's added to this composition by the notes of raisin and seaweed. Two insane notes that match with the rum and tobacco and dried fruits. This won some sort of an award, I think, or came very close to winning an award. I can't exactly remember. What does it say? Oh, yes, there you go. Finalist, Olfactory Award finalist in 2018. So Prim Lomros made this fragrance. I think this is the only Prim Lomros fragrance I have. So it's got that boozy, tobacco, dried fruits DNA, but it goes in a little bit of a different direction because of the freshness. That seaweed note will just blow your mind. You know, it's insane. I don't know if I even like it even. I just keep kind of going back to it and smelling it occasionally because it's just kind of weird. But can still be worn in weather that's a little warmer because of that amped up freshness. And then, just like I said, Pasha was a fougere that was, you know, modernized with a boozy note. Lalique L'Insoumis is also a fougere that is modernized. This is a very modern fougere, and it's modernized with a boozy note. It's modernized with the note of rum. And so it has this rum and basil bergamot top that mixes with the normal fougere. I think this is more of a fougere than this is. I think this is now more like a amber, maybe you could call it an amber fougere. This is more like a traditional fougere. It keeps that traditional fougere smell, but it adds that boozy rum at the top. Such a great fragrance. And the fact that you could get this for $30 or whatever it is, this is a great buy. The House of Lalique puts out some fantastic fragrances. And if you see bottles like this from the House of Salvatore Ferragamo or whatever it is, understand Lalique is not copying them. They are actually using Lalique to create the bottles they put their fragrances in, because that's one of Lalique's biggest business, is a bottle maker. And then they started making fragrances later on. Lalique was actually the next door neighbor of Francois Coty, if I'm not mistaken. And that's how he kind of got his start, is Coty made the fragrances, Lalique made the bottles, and wham bam, thank you ma'am. So L'Insoumis, if you love the fougere DNA and you've never smelled this, you have to smell this. This is a fantastic fragrance. Amazing, so masculine, I love it. And then another cheapie, we're on a cheapie roll here. If I ever do a coffee list, this would be on it as well. This is Halloween Man X, another hype beast. in the community. By the way, Perfumes Diseño from Spain. I've never heard of them before in my life before I bought this fragrance. So they're like, I guess, a little small house. You don't see many small houses making a push amongst the big houses. This is whiskey, coffee, cardamom with these insane mineral notes and leather and amber and incense and tonka. It is very designer-ish, just like C.H. Privé is designer. If you like designer fragrance, if you like designer fragrances and you don't like to go into the niche world and you want something cheap and you like boozy fragrances, check out Halloween Man X. Interesting fragrance for cheap right now. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it is an interesting composition. Then I'm going to include this one. Parfumo actually lists the note of absinthe. I haven't given this enough wearings to tell you for sure, you know, whether this is true or not. I asked Rich Mitch if he got an absinthe note in this, and he said he didn't know. But Parfumo has it listed as absinthe, so I'm going to include it. This is Mona di Orio's Cuir. Whoops, let's show the right side of the bottle, Ramsey. This is Cuir. And this is obviously a leather fragrance. It's called Cuir. But it has absinthe, castoreum, cardamom, leather, opopanax, and juniper. I need to give this more full wearings. I'll report back. I haven't had a chance to really give it a full wearing yet. But I wanted to include this because of this very interesting absinthe note. Look at my face there. Whoa. All right, next. Next, on to Amouage. We have 3 Amouage fragrances that have boozy notes in it. One is from Caron Vichon Spegna. I hope I pronounced her name right there. This is an amazing fragrance, by the way. This is Overture Man. Look at that frosted glass bottle. Amouage's presentations are just so regal. I love these presentations. And this, oh my God, this is such a good fragrance. This and this are 2 of the best cognac fragrances you can buy, in my opinion. But this has cognac, cumin, cardamom, nutmeg, saffron, grapefruit, ginger. The grapefruit ginger, by the way, keeps it very fresh. So this is a heavy fragrance meant for winter, but there's this crazy freshness that comes from the grapefruit and ginger, and then it gets down into the heavier stuff. Myrrh, mastic, benzoin, cinnamon, labdanum, patchouli, geranium, sandalwood, animal notes, smoke, incense, clary sage, leather. Such a complex fragrance. I love this stuff. I think I sent Rich Mitch a sample, so I'd love to hear his thoughts on it as well. But Overture is apparently a little hard to find in the United States. It used to be a Harrods exclusive. Probably the best Harrods exclusive I've ever smelled. I think most Harrods exclusives suck, in my opinion, because the brands just put it out there in a fancy packaging. They say, oh, it has oud or whatever, and there's $500. But I really feel like since this was one of Christopher Chong's last fragrances, they really put out a banger. And then they realized they did, and they added it just to the regular line. Lovely. And then one of my favorite brandy fragrances, Brandy and Immortelle is basically what this is, with one of the most amazing lavender notes. This is Sunshine Man. I love this fragrance so much. This literally puts a smile on my face every time I wear it. Oh, it's so good. I don't know what else to say about it. It is an amazing fragrance. It's sweet, but it's unique. It's not too sweet. It's not overwhelming. The Immortelle adds that hay-like texture that I love. The orange brandy, if you will. It's orange with brandy is what Fragrantica says. There's a note of brandy, there's a note of orange. But I read somewhere this said orange brandy as well on Amouage's website, and you can see the sun rays coming out of the Amouage sun logo. Gorgeous presentation with the Swarovski crystal. I usually don't give a damn about presentation, And I think this is a made in Oman bottle. I can't tell, but guys, so good. This is top-notch perfumery. And then one of the most insane perfumes that has a boozy note that no one talks about. No one talks about this fragrance. Someone described this on Base Notes or Fragrantica or Parfumo, I forget which. They described it as a nightmare. And kind of cracks me up because I get what they're saying, even though I love this fragrance. It's called Myths by Amouage. Well, maybe I should put it the right way. Myths Man. And this is back when they did 50 ml bottles. They don't anymore. And this is chrysanthemum and orris, which chrysanthemum is a funeral flower, mixed with elemi, rum, vetiver rose, ash in the base, and it smells like ash. It doesn't smell like smoke or incense. It smells like straight up ash. Leather and labdanum. Insane composition. And this is why I loved Christopher Chong. There is nobody else on earth that would put out a fragrance that has a funeral flower, chrysanthemum, with ash, ashes to ashes, and a rum note, and orris, so it's powdery, it's incensey, it's ashy, it's leathery, it's labdanum, it's a little floral from the chrysanthemum. Insane. Insane. And I can see why someone called it a nightmare. If you're not experienced, this is a nightmare. This will blow you away. But you can see I put a pretty good dent in this bottle. And if you wear like a leather jacket, leather belt, this really accentuates it well. Beautiful fragrance and very niche. And then more of a mainstream release. This is Mojito in a bottle. This is Guerlain Homme Intense. And this is basically mint, mojito, rhubarb, rum, geranium, floral notes, vetiver, cedar, patchouli. Lovely in the heat. This is a banger in the heat. You can wear this in the cold too. If you get tired of heavy fragrances and you want something that is a little fresher for the cold, you can wear this. This bottle is now discontinued, by the way. And they've gone to the normal Listerine bottles, but mojito in a bottle, beautiful for summer. And then, if you're going to look this fragrance up, make sure you look up the 1999 version. If you put Yohji Homme in Fragrantica, it'll come up with a bunch of stuff. You have to click on the 1999 because there's been multiple reformulations and some of them were terrible. This first one here, I'm going to show you because it has the proper presentation. It used to have this little clasp that would keep it from spraying. Yohji Homme from 1999, and then my 100 ml bottle. This is a 50 I got from Amouage. This is a 100 ml that I've had for a long time. This says distributed by P&G, and this says distributed by Patou or Patou Pour Homme. If you're a Frenchman, I guess. You can't see that, but take my word for it. And they both smell amazing. I will tell you the notes are anise, lavender, coriander, bergamot, licorice, cinnamon, Brazilian rosewood, carnation, and geranium, rum, coffee, cedar, leather, sandalwood, and tonka. And the rum really accentuates everything in this fragrance. This is a soft, spicy fragrance. Think about Thierry Mugler's B-Men. If you like that fragrance, that is basically this minus the rum. There's no rum, I think, in that fragrance. And I think B-Men came out 5 years after this. And I think that the famous in-house perfumer of Jean Pateau, oh, now I have to look up his name, started working on this, and then it was taken over by Jean Carleo, who is very famous for creating Patou Pour Homme, Ma Liberté, you know, a bunch of the big Patou fragrances, or Patou, I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce that, because he used a lot of oak moss, a lot of real Mysore sandalwood, and he worked on this fragrance in the late 90s, and then someone else kind of came in and took it over. So this is kind of a cult legend, but you have to get the 1999 version. Any other version? Thumbs down. Very unique. Very unique. And Yohji Yamamoto is a Japanese brand, so it's kind of made in the Japanese style, if you will. Very light, very, you know, very airy. It's not a shouter, but if you want to just appreciate perfumery, lovely stuff. And then we go on to a Creed, and I have both Royal Mayfair and the original Windsor. What's wrong with me today? There you go. The original Windsor. And this is basically, this is one of my favorite rose fragrances of all time. But what it is it's pine, gin, lime, rose, eucalyptus, cedar, and orange. So pine, or gin is the boozy note. The difference between Windsor, which is the original release, and you can kind of see by looking at the juice color how much darker this one is. The difference is that this one feels, you can tell they're the same fragrance, but this one feels almost like it's been put in a, you know, oak barrel and aged or something. I mean, you know, it feels like it's been aged in an oak cask barrel. Beautiful fragrance, though. You have to like green. It's very posh. Mayfair is a high-end area of London. This is a very posh area, but and you can kind of see what they did. It's got like this velvet, I don't even know what you would call this. This felt, like a pool table felt, but posh, you know, posh feeling. I love this fragrance for standing out. Uniqueness, you know, this is a niche release by Creed. A lot of people give Creed a hard time because they put designer type smells in a niche bottle. This is a niche fragrance, most definitely. And then one of the Fragcom darlings that gets not very much talk anymore because it's harder and harder to find. This is Thierry Mugler's Amen Pure Malt. I guess without the light on, you'll have a hard time seeing this, but take my word for it. Pure Malt is one of the best boozy fragrances. It's got whiskey. It has actual malt in the fragrance, which makes it very unique. And it has this peat moss. This is a very unique fragrance. It has that coffee note that is famous along the Amen line. Wonderful boozy fragrance. And then we're going to move on to a couple boxes that I put down there. The first is from the house of Jovoy, and it is called Les Jeux, Sont, Faits. And Les Jeux, Sont, Faits is basically an amber fragrance that utilizes the note of rum with patchouli, cumin, gin. So there's two boozy fragrances here, rum and gin. And then you have this dried fruits with angelica and petitgrain in the top. This is one of the best, almost like celebratory fragrances, if you will. It feels like you're out having a good time. It feels like you've went out, you're celebrating, you're sitting down, you know, you're eating a nice meal, you're smoking a good cigar, you're drinking a nice glass of rum or gin, and, you know, there is the note of cumin here, so, but really amber is the biggest player, and patchouli. It's a big, heavy patchouli underneath with amber, labdanum, vanilla, cedarwood. This is a great fragrance. I love this fragrance, and even though it has all those heavy notes, it wears very thin. You know, you spray it on, it wears like a thin sheet. Great fragrance. Gets almost no talk. I don't know if it's discontinued or not. I haven't seen Jovoy, you know, pumping this fragrance lately, but I love this fragrance. Very glad to have it, and I need to wear it more. And then we go on to a Nishane, and this is Fan Your Flames. And Fan Your Flames is another niche offering that has this crazy sweet tobacco, and it comes in this, comes with this little card here. There's the Fan Your Flames artwork, if you will. A guy fanning his flames, spreading his sillage across the world. I don't know what you want to call it. But this does something that I would say the Stranger's Perfumery Cigar Rum does. And that is that it takes these heavy notes like tobacco, rum, and it mixes it with this more tropical coconut note. I think I like this more than the Stranger's Perfumery, to be honest. The note of seaweed in that Stranger's, seaweed and raisin just kind of do weird things together. But this one stays tropical because they focused on the note of coconut and rum. So it kind of feels like you're on a beach somewhere. But it also has this darkness, this tobacco, this tonka, this oak moss, this Chinese cedar. I love this fragrance, and it's an extrait de parfum. It's a 50 ml, so they do things kind of like Roja, you know. They kind of copied the plate on the front and the fancy cap with the whatever, you know. Probably overpriced for what it is, but beautiful fragrance. I love this fragrance. Nishane is a Turkish brand, hence the Turkish rider right there. So Fan Your Flames is the last one on the list. We've kept it under an hour, which I am very proud of, since I tend to be able to talk forever. But I do have things to do today, so I've got to run. But I wanted to do this video. I was so pumped to get those samples from Rich Mitch. I'm going to do some first impressions coming up soon. I have a lot of first impressions that I want to do. And again, my point in doing these big videos is A, to highlight the boozy notes or the note that I'm choosing. But B, I also want to kind of put these fragrances out there that I have access to them. If you want more of an in-depth review, do let me know, and I'll kind of put them on the short list. I do plan on doing reviews at some point. So if there's anything that you kind of want me to focus on, if there's questions you want to ask me about these fragrances, please drop me a comment below. I love seeing your faces. I love the support that I've gotten over the first month of doing this, and I'm really enjoying doing these videos. Sorry I didn't turn on the light, so we'll see what the video quality looks like. But we will see you again tomorrow with another video. Cheers. Thanks for watching.